A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. We say Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen. My name is Fatiha Sharia. Fatiha Sharia. My contact information is researchpublishingmedia@gmail.com. Again, my contact information is researchpublishingmedia@gmail.com. This is in association with Dr. Tutor. I stand before you, or I stand before the people, and I present information. We're more of a research corporation where we give the people information that they can use to progress themselves in society. You have wealthy, and then you just have poor people. So, as black people, we are group segregation from plantation slavery. Integration is just some more foolishness. But how do we progress ourselves? So it's education, and that's where Dr. Tutor comes in. I educate mathematically. It could be math, writing. You have young people, or you yourself want to learn, you can just contact me. We do Zoom. Zoom is real good. I'm not at a level, I can, right? But to come where you are and speak, eventually we want to get to that point. Because again, we're very misguided. A lot of times we're not even qualified to stand before young people and talk about how we're going to educate them. That's, so if you are concerned, and always understand, right, that finance helps alleviate when you don't know how to do it or you don't have the time to do it. Well, you can pay someone, correct? But it's always good to learn how to do it yourself and take them steps. You're going to make, it depends on how God blesses you. You're going to make mistakes, but then you learn, and so it's a continual situation. We want to talk about, always understand, because inshallah, we're going to talk about getting money, getting finance, cash. And inshallah, if God blesses you, they got something right where the brother say the devil can bless you too. To put that in context, God creates the wicked for the day of evil. You see what I'm saying? We walk around here and the wickedness that we do, right? And we think there is no recompense. But God has created wickedness for that wickedness. Correct? So you can be blessed and not have no foundation in God. And always understand we die. Right? Now again, in a devil society, we associate death with somebody killing you, all types of atrocities. It could just be like heart attacks, strokes, high blood pressure, to push us or to get us into the grave. Or steps you can take when you make peace with yourself and with God to go into the grave. But regardless, the day of resurrection, the Quranic scripture calls it the hour. All kinds of ways you can look at it. But it's the finality of this world. So when you die, where you go, right? Now, we don't want to get into that again, right, at this time, because we want to keep it more or less university educational. But let's understand this, since we're intelligent. if God created himself, then why would God create death, so we say, where he would die, and then that would be the end of his, that would be the end of his existence, right? No, God ain't done that. God then created this world. We don't really yet know, well, we kind of know, but why did he create this world for himself as compared to creating this world for human beings? But God would not create himself to shoot himself in the head, where that would be the end of it. No. God created this world, and then when you leave this world, and that's real good, because that means God is our God. You see what I'm saying? Oh, that thing is just so beautiful. But we still deal with the devil, right? And until God removes the devil from around us, it's just patience. But understand that point, and it took a long time to get to that understanding. Oh, it took a long time to get to that understanding. God would not create himself and then create death, where that would be the end of it. So understand that, because you say you know, but you don't know. And always remember, no, Daddy, I'm going to go on this mountaintop and live. Always understand that. So I say that because you have to seek ye first the kingdom of God and all of his righteousness. Before you do anything, you have to seek first the kingdom of God and all of his righteousness, and then everything will be added unto you. That's very powerful. Very, very powerful, because our footsteps are incorrect. I was going to go to the Emancipation Proclamation, right? And I want to put this point out here. You have to understand that. So let's say, right? Let's say, okay, we started 1555. 1555, the first black men and women, what they call Africans, was brought to, I'm not going to say North America, I think they were brought to the islands. But always understand that these devils had already enslaved the Indian, what they call the Mexican, had already enslaved them in the 1400s, right? And got rid of them, so then they needed like just a whole bunch of farmland. So where they going to get the farmers from? So you have 1555. So then we come up to about, let's say 1730, right? Now what we're doing is we building up to, I think the emancipation was 1865. I think it was 1865, 63, 65. So we probably started getting like real heavy, like the Caucasian Jesus and everything, God, Caucasian, probably right this time right here, 1730. So you talking about Christianity. Slavery real good to us, so we're going to keep it going, and we're going to start feeding these black people a wicked version of the Bible, right? But we still getting scripture, right? We still getting the idea of who Jesus is. I think we might put a color of Jesus as being Caucasian, but it's that scripture, that word. So when you talk about the Emancipation Proclamation, and now, we ain't reading no books. We damn sure ain't reading no physics books, no mathematics books, unless you one of them black men or black women on the plantation where your slavery was education. Let me get this, as a child, they watching. So this young brother right here, he real good, like he just got good coordination with numbers. So we take him away, same slavery, chattel slavery. They might feed him a little better because, he got a little bit more value on him. So we get these group of people up in certain areas in chattel slavery, and we giving them these books. But collectively, Emancipation Proclamation, we're coming off of slave plantations with knowledge of the Bible. So I say this because this is real good. I say this because when you start talking about, okay, so when we come from chattel slavery into American society, and then you have the 1890s, where these black men and these black women were coming out with patents on all types of inventions, correct? Where they just invented everything. Everything you pretty much see, and that's still going on now, right? You're not going to really see too many. They might get the awards with the money, but they control the businesses that take the patents. They're not coming out with no patents. Black people, the children of Israel. So they're coming out with all these patents in the 1890s, right? And then during that same time, you got black people that's not necessarily farming, even though we are farming, but we're forming cities. And these cities are, I'm not going to say dominating American society, but these cities, if you probably look at where they came from compared to what's going on now with these black cities, these cities are thriving. I say that because you got to start looking at certain scripture in the Bible. Like, we're not dumb, right? We just have a very peaceful, then we raised up as children. We're raised up as slaves, right? But, the city that's coming down out the sky, right? Be fruitful and multiply. Little basic Bible verses. Because look now, we done got thoroughly beaten with the Bible, right? So we got some of that scripture. So we start applying the scripture, and you have these towns, right, that are doing business. You got black towns that are real successful. Now always understand the one verse that says the city that comes down out of the sky to destroy the wicked. Now you really see it in Caucasian society, right? You look at old businesses that just went out of business, and then all of a sudden, here go Walmart. Here go Eckers. Here go Family Dollar. Here go Dollar General. These are new businesses that symbolically come down out the sky. But always remember in the book of Revelation says, and there was a war in heaven. And Michael, they call this one angel Michael. They say Michael and his angels. So Michael probably was, in that context, when they say Michael and his angels, Michael was probably like a Isaiah. And then you always got angels around the prophets. So Michael and his prophecy, and then you never really, when you try to look at who Michael is or Michael, you don't really get, it's a whole lot of mysticism there. And that's where speaking or reading text, religious text, in separate languages can really get you there, because it'll be a correlation where this text over here in this language right here will let you know who that is. But you have the Michael, you have someone called Michael, and then you have someone called Gabriel. Now Gabriel is supposed to be the angel that gave the book of Revelation to Prophet Muhammad. Now we know Prophet Muhammad was not ignorant, so to say it's some type of spookism, and so we don't necessarily understand that. But that's actually very good to look at. So always understand that it's a war at that time in heaven. And this brother named Michael and his angels fought against the dragon and his angels. We know who the dragon is, correct? So, and the dragon lost. The dragon and his angels lost and were casted down to the planet. And the thing you have to understand is that, and then God says that their place was found no more in heaven. So when you befriend the devil, but God say their place is found no more in heaven. You don't even, to take that in and understand what that means. So if that's already going on, and then the prophecies say that it will be a city that comes down out the sky, right? But then the most honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that, you know, the devil then put all these things in outer space to make them. What does it say in the New Testament? The New Testament says, let no one deceive you, the devil, for that day will not surely come unless there be a falling away first. You have to separate, and the man of sin will be revealed, or the devil will be revealed, who sits in the seat of a law, right, pretending to be a law, to deceive black people. So all of that's going on, right? So when you do walk down the street and there's nothing there, and then you see an Eckerd's, right? Little fancy 99-cent store. Then after 10, 15 years, you see Eckerd's going out of business. Or you see a Rite Aid. There wasn't no Rite Aid there, and then it's a Rite Aid. Another little fancy 99-cent store. And then 10 years later, you see that business going out of business. And in place of that, you see a Family Dollar. Then you see a Dollar General. So these businesses is coming down out the sky. But that's the devil. Compared to, well, from 1865, if we are Judah, or better yet, if we are the children of Abram, God made a covenant with Abram. If we are the children of Abram, and we are now beginning to learn our history from chattel slavery, the force of Christianity from chattel slavery, but this the scripture in the Bible, and we begin to build these cities, the devil destroyed these cities. Yeah, on one level, they hate black people, of course. But on a totally separate level, the city that comes down out of the sky, la la hallelujah, the city that comes down out of the sky to destroy the wickedness. So they stopping all of, like, the biblical prophecy, how powerful the scripture is. And then they probably got scientists that say, well, look, realistically, they cannot necessarily calculate the severity of what they're doing. They're just really building from what little scripture we gave them and the fact that God has made a covenant with us. You actually have a covenant with God. So I always wonder, I found that very interesting when I understood that. And I say that because it's just the power of scripture, right? If you really look at yourself and you say you heavy in the church or you heavy Christianity, you're not really, right? You probably just saying that you not no devil, right? You ain't about to get out here and do some of the things that these people is doing. But you're not really into God. Not really at all. So I say that because you can build with correct knowledge. You can build with the Bible, because the Bible is an antiquity book. Yeah, you can talk about iniquity, but the Bible is an antiquity book if correctly understood. So I always wanted to say that, to get that out there, right? Okay. So seek ye first the kingdom of God and all of his righteousness. Now, let's see what I wanted to say, right? When we're going to talk about the stock market. What's today's date? I think the day is the 23rd. Is that correct? Let me see something. Okay, yes. Hold on one second. Today's date is 9/23/2024. Now what we want to do is that we want to look at, okay, let me put this let me put this up here, stock analysis.com, stockanalysis.com. Now, if you go to stockanalysis.com, and if you go to their internet site, they got categories. They're actually very good. They give you news, they give you stocks, then they got earnings. They give you really whatever you want to go to. But they also give you the earnings reports of the companies. So, and then I just like how they got they format, correct? So they had Adobe. Let's look at Adobe. Adobe is let's just go to let's go to history first. Okay, that's a separate type of history. Let's go to profile. We talking about Adobe. Let me slow it down a little bit more. It's called Adobe Incorporated. Now, what we want to do is we want to understand how to do business. I dare say, listen, you ain't got to go get your business administration degree, right? I dare say it. And I want to say this too, right? Just to put this out here. I talk about chattel slavery. I talk about chattel slavery. And you'll see a lot of it's not my argument, but my foundation, a lot about what we're speaking on, I'm going to start off with chattel slavery. We have to understand what has been done against us. The devil say make it disappear where it never happened. But no, it's chattel slavery. And I've been going hard on that, right? But I get this from Minister Louis Farrakhan. And the only reason why I say that, right, is because when I left graduate school and it was just real bad, and I just started listening to Minister Louis Farrakhan, like his older DVDs. So I was just following the minister real hard, and I wanted to be a minister and within the Nation of Islam. Now, I didn't know nothing about Benjamin and Judah or none of that. I didn't know too much about the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I only seen him as like my grandfather. So yeah, I'm going to listen to my grandfather, that's the leader. And I know God, so I know I'm going to get busy, right? And this brother was a representative. So I was into Minister Louis Farrakhan real heavy, right? And one time the minister was speaking in California, and I was no longer, again, it was conflict. So I was like, well, I don't think I'm going to be a minister within his organization, but, I still believe. So I still would follow him and listen to what he was saying, right? He was speaking in California, Berkeley, and this is probably like one of the last times I seen him. Then he had like I can't think whether he had the health problem. I think he had a health problem, but then it got worse. But this was like the last time where he was like real good, right? And when I was watching him, it's almost like he was speaking to me. I'm not saying he was speaking to me directly, but it was like he was speaking to me directly, right? And he was like, you make sure you tell them about slavery. Now, he didn't say it like that, but again, Fatiha Sharia, right? So I seen that, and I seen him, right? And that's when he was talking about the book, The Secret Relationship Between the Blacks and the Jews. I hadn't got that book, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I hadn't really. Yeah, we know we slaves, right? But we don't really know. And then at this level right here, we still don't really know. But he said, and make sure you tell them about chattel slavery. So I heard that, and so that's why I come from chattel slavery. So I want to acknowledge that, right? Just to make sure, just to make sure with me. I ain't just come out, we gonna talk. Because the chattel slavery, it's the chattel slavery that really make everything, that put everything together, right? So it was my brother that was like, and you make sure you tell them about chattel slavery. So I just wanted to say that. That brother put me on to that. Is how I want to say it. Okay. Okay. So why did I say that, right? I knew I was going to forget that thought. Okay, but we're going to keep it going. So I think I want to say is that, from chattel slavery, it's how we think. We just destroy it. We don't really know how to do no business. All right? And so, and again, you can come from the Bible. The Bible give you all kind of ways. The Bible even tell you about how to end poverty. I want to put charity up here too, because we want to talk about charity. We want to talk about charity. How to do charity. Maybe I should put it right. How to do charity. But the Bible really talks about how to end poverty, but we ain't talking about ending world poverty, right? We talking about, like, if you got a nation or a community, we talking about ending poverty within your community or within your nation. And the Bible talks about it real clearly. When I read, we're gonna try to get to it this class lecture. But when I read it in the Bible, they got some, it's not a Jewish characteristic in their religion. It's just what God say how to get rid of poverty. So they got something when they give loans, every 7 years, they cancel the loan. And then every 50 years, it's somehow they do that. But we're going to read that because I think when I read that, it's not just that. It's a couple verses, it might be an entire chapter that really talks about how to end poverty. And when I read that, I was like, that's how you end poverty. And so it's real powerful. We're going to try to get to that because, again, we're trying to organize. If it's Judah, right, and Minister Louis Farrakhan got Benjamin, and that's it, right? You don't really have, that's it. So you got two brothers, and Judah, again, we got the brother in Atlanta, and he's not the only one. We got another brother, because I thought about it, when the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad passed on, he had an actual blood brother that continued on teaching what his brother was teaching. And so I don't know his name, or I don't want to incorrectly pronounce his name. But we have some of them out here too that believe in what the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad was speaking on, but they followed his brother after the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad passed on. But again, it's Judah. Always understand it's Judah. And when the Bible give you Judah, the Bible don't give you Judah as some slaves walking around a devil country and rags, killing each other, eating each other, homosexuality. No, that Bible don't give you Judah. The Bible give you Judah as a kingdom. Okay. So from chattel slavery, how do we really do business? Like how we do business? Well, we making billions of dollars. Correct? So even when you do charity, to do charity, okay, so let's go back. We're gonna get to charity. But let's just go back to Adobe. Let's give a brief description of what it's called. Adobe Incorporated. You know what? Let's first go back to the overview. Okay, so right now, look now. Adobe is at 531.77. That's how much it costs to buy one share. It then already went up $9. So if you would have had 10 shares, you'd have made $90. Adobe does that all the time. But when you talk about the stock market, what I had to learn was it's something called the expectation. This is real crazy. I mean, it's not crazy, but it is crazy because this is where the hustle comes in. Expectation. And what I've been wanting to ask Dr. Watkins is, like, who actually defining this? Like, do they have a computer that's saying, well, this is what this company is worth? I don't think that's how it is. I think they actually have people that decide what the price of the company, you know, so I don't understand that. And so like when a report come out, how can the report come out where the price drops so fast, but like how many people seeing that report? And then how, you know what I'm saying? Like, and then if it's just a couple people that control the report, how can they just drop the price and then the price drop way down where everybody sell? You see what I'm saying? I don't understand that. So again, and then I said that kind of dumbfounded, right? Because I'm dumbfounded in that. But they got something called, and this is true. Like a lot of times, like what the Bible say? The book of Proverbs says, I can't get that word right. The book of Proverbs says, make firm, it's really like make sure your path. They say it a nice way though. I really messed that up so you can hear it right. But the book of Proverbs says almost like make sure your path or prove your path. Meaning like this. Say you got you and your family and y'all starving, right? And across this bridge is just like a whole bunch of food. But it's a bridge, right? And everybody like, oh, food, and you the father, right? And so, you know, the little children, right? You got to hold everybody back. You got to prove that bridge, right? So the father got to go and walk on the bridge, not just one time. He got to walk on the bridge. I mean, he could do it just one time, and everybody come on. And then that one time, that bridge break. No, he got to prove that path. So he got to walk on the bridge, come back, walk on the bridge, and come back, and walk. So the book of Proverbs says you got to make sure you prove your path. A lot of times as black people, you know, we done wasted a lot of time. The world then moved on, and we're left behind. But you got to understand we were punished with slavery. So we have to be patient. We still got to improve. We got to prove our path. Okay, so I say that because, again, as a Muslim, communication with God, you got to be real particular in who you listening to. And I have found this to be true. Like, you know, I might say, well, I like this person. And I don't mean like, if I don't like them no longer, I don't mean like I hate them, like we hate each other. I mean, I just like, I don't really get down. Like, I really disagree with the things they doing right now, right? Compared to, you might have heard me say, well, yeah, I really like these brothers right here and such and such and such and such. So you got to prove that path. So they got something called expectations, right? But they also got something called, and this is the first thing that I actually proved with the stock market. Like, listen to what I'm trying to tell you. Let's go back to probability. Probability. Now, I really love this, right? Again, I was in graduate school working on a doctorate in physical chemistry, but when you get up that high and you start talking about subatomic particles or things you can't see, that's just all math. So again, no, you study, go to school to get a doctorate in math and read all them other books. But you got to get that doctorate in math. You can't really just read a math book and you ain't got no interaction with no people that's going to show you what's going on. But you can read all them other books. So in physical chemistry, we got something called probability. And the probability is really, if you got some atoms, we want to know, say atoms are at X. Now, we don't even know if it's at X. but we know it's somewhere in space. So we're going to say it's at X. So you give it 2-3 seconds. In 2 or 3 seconds, where are these atoms going to be? Well, they're going to be at Z. Right? But we don't know where Z is. And then we don't necessarily have the mathematics to be precise that it's going to be at Z. But it's a probability based on our input. Again, it's a function. If you have something that's going to describe the activity of this atom, you got something like X plus A. And X plus A is going to let you know everything you need to know about these atoms. So if you know the function, then you can put in certain variables or certain numerical values where it'll give you a probability of where it might be in 2 or 3 seconds. Okay, so look now, this is what I'm trying to tell you. The Bible is a prophecy book that lets you know about planetary activity. The Bible is a prophecy book. Know for sure that Abram, your seed will be a stranger in a strange land, and they will be afflicted and serve these strangers for 400 years, or serve these devils. That's a prophecy that then came to pass. You read the Bible, that's all you ever hear. Come to pass. Come to pass. Know for sure, I forgot the king, but God told Judah he was going to bring these people down from the Caucasus Mountains. That thing came to pass. He told Babylon the same thing. He told the brother, he said, make sure you suck it up and go with Babylon. And then I'm going to bring somebody down to destroy Babylon. So it's just a book of prophecy. What's going to happen tomorrow? If you knew that a stock that costs $1, if you knew it was going to be $5 tomorrow, all the time. It happens all the time. Let's just give a good example. Let's go back. Now, we're still talking about Adobe. But if we go to market movers and go to top gainers. Let's go to top gainers. These are market movers. What then jumped off today? So we have a company. We have a company called NVVE. NVVE. Now let's go to their joint. We have a slow day today. Normally them joints be going up 200, 300%. But if we go to what NVV is, it then went up $2.24. It's at $6. It's at $6.16. So that means yesterday it was at, we're going to say $4. If you knew it was going to go up, let's see why. They might tell us why it was going to go up. It's a green energy technology company. So, you know, there it is. Okay, so that's not really, that was like, they got some information on that company from a couple days ago. So, but normally when it jumps up like that, it'll be for a reason specifically. Now, a couple of days ago, they announced a 1-for-10 reverse split. Now, a lot of times the stock market has a delayed reaction. See, again, it's all a hustle. People control this. And man, you catching it way behind. If you in Congress got more information on what's going on because they make the laws. They're a little bit closer. It's not insider trading, but they're a little bit closer just to like, listen, this is where the money is. Somebody ever ask you where the money at? Stock market. People caking. Listen, I could be a faggot. I could be a homosexual. I can do all types of wickedness. I'm not working at no damn McDonald's or Walmart. I'm not really working. You might see me stressed out like political wars. I don't care about, I'm not into nothing you into, because I done just made $100 million off the stock market. Man, you out here looking for a damn job. So NVVE, yesterday, it was at $4. Today it's at $6.23. It then went up $2.35, 34 cents. So if you it's at $4 now. So you got $1,000. You buy 1,000 shares. You made $2,000. And to be exact, $2,320. One day. That's one day. And what I also want to understand, right? I want you to understand. Let me erase this off the board. Now that's dealing with probability. Let me backtrack to make sure we understand. Probability. If you know what's going to happen tomorrow, then you will know where to put your money at right now to flip it and then take it out. Unless you like that company. So it's ways to look at how the structure is where you can start charting what's going on, where you can try to come out with probability. And then you know how numbers work. Always understand it's 1, 2. You know after 1 come 2. But what about if it's not, but after 1 come 0, 1.01. Right? You got 1. So you know 2 coming after 1, but what about if it go 1, 1 or 1.12? You got a long ways before you get to 2. But what if you just say natural numbers? You want this set, it's a probability set. And you want this probability set to only include natural numbers. You don't want it to include, that would be rational numbers. So there was the algorithm right there. Whoever controlling the stock market, technology, if they come out with an algorithm that say, well, look, we want the probability to be, we want the probability set to be natural numbers, not rational numbers. So that means, shit, you good. You can put everything on that. Look, if it's natural numbers at 1 and it's supposed to increase, well, you put everything on 2. Because the algorithm set for the probability set to only include natural numbers. See, that's the game. I'm not gonna never let you in there, right? That's why that's why we have to learn how to do business. We have to create something for ourselves, and then we got to learn how to do it, right? We don't know how to do it. They had already done it. They had never had no chattel slavery. Okay. So that's called probability, right? So you know, Fatiha, listen, God got me, I don't mean, when I say God got me tight, I mean me and God, now I got idiosyncrasies, right? You know, I'm not perfect. I don't mean I'm not perfect where I'm sinning. We got the one scripture, I'm still trying to learn it, right? We do 5 prayers a day, right? Now the Quran don't never say 5 prayers, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But the Quran give you 5 times you supposed to pray. And then the Quran say, then you supposed to pray some more. Beyond, and then Allah is specific. Beyond what you already doing. And then they got, it's confusing because then they put the Quranic scripture up in there where you're supposed to read the Quran at certain periods in the day. But the words they use to express prayer and how they have the reading of the Quran in that verse is confusing. So you got to do the antiquity on those words, or you got to really catch it in the spirit. But really, God say you're supposed to be praying more than them 5 prayers a day. And you know, you wear and tear, right? So we say. And so that's why, I mean, I'm not sinning, but you know, I might be tired. I might miss I don't miss no prayer, but I might miss a prayer time. And then if you do get caught up in prayer, you don't never really want to miss. We got a prayer right before the sun set. So if you miss that prayer, you didn't miss that prayer. And you can make it up, right? But then spiritually, what kind of devils you dealing with? And then we got a prayer before the sunrise, right? So once the sun is risen, if you ain't made that Fajr prayer, then you done missed that prayer. Now again, you can make it up, correct? So Fatiha, I'm not perfect, right? But again, if you know what's going to happen in the future, you can plan for that right now. And we're talking about financial planning. You need finance. We need finance. So, in being in a relationship with God, seek ye first the kingdom of God and all of his righteousness. So we say, no, we're gonna we pretty nice. We're gonna, once we see what's going on and the people we listening to, we're gonna find out what's going on and we're gonna come up with our own algorithm, right? What I want to say too is that when we go back, what was it, NVVE, right? The numbers that we dealing with compared to what it really is. I mean, brothers and sisters, okay, so it was NVVE. It went up $2.24. I think that's like what, 60%. It went up a 60% increase. Now that's not, you see it all the time. It go $200 and $300, $200 and $300%. So that means yesterday it was at $4. So what I said 1,000 shares. No. No. Brothers and sisters, these people be having millions of shares. Well, they do, but really I'm gonna say the average is like 300,000 or 400,000 shares. So it's just a big difference in what I'm talking about as far as like coming from slavery compared to what these people talking about, like the slave master. It's a huge money difference. Even Dr. Watkins is he's a multi-millionaire, right? So I just want you to understand that it's a severity. We just talking about crumbs. We trying to flip crumbs. People flipping millions of dollars. Like I always say, right, you might go out, you struggling, you going to work, or you going somewhere, it's a struggle. And you see the Caucasian right here in a convertible, he just look, he don't look no special way, but he look like he about to not do nothing for the entire his life. But he just, flip-flops, sweatpants, t-shirt. You say, well, he going to Walmart to get some cleaning supply. No, he about not to go nowhere. Kiss on a dog or something. Well, how he flipping money because he got billions of dollars. What I'm saying is this. Let's understand correctly. Let me see. Okay. So we're talking about probability. The future. What stocks, how are you training your mind? When you say, well, this stock right here is going to do this tomorrow. Now, when you got to start listening to experience. Everybody, I believe, well, I think it's some Caucasian people that's like, if they heavy into it. Because again, even though Dr. Watkins is black, he's not Caucasian. Well, this is not a Caucasian invention, but the American stock market, that's Caucasian people. Dr. Watkins might know how, then he got taught by Caucasian people. So no, he gonna know to a certain point, and then God, what God say. That brother Judah, so you gonna listen to Judah, right? Then you gonna listen to what God say, because he tell you he don't know. Don't nobody really know. So again, what I want to say. So they got something called expectation. And the thing is, okay, so again, if it's 1, you know the next number, okay, if you're talking about natural numbers, the natural number set, the next number that's coming after 1, if there is a next number, is 2. That's it. Now God can do everything he want to do, but if you got it in a computer, it's an algorithm. No, the next number is 2. So these people be cake. Now you do got the federal government that's looking at that, but the federal government ain't on it. They all the same people. You see what I'm saying? That's why it's a damn hustle. But, you know, shit, I ain't trying to knock their hustle. What I'm saying is that we need to look at what we are doing and how come it ain't got nothing to do with that. How come we not putting it together to organize or to do something, just to do something constructive. You know what I'm saying? Like we ain't came out with nothing. Nothing. Okay. So this is probability. And you can get it a little bit. I want to say it like this too, right? It's almost like what it is making bricks out of straw. That's when you get into theory. I'm a theoretician. We beat our brain because slavery. Nigga, you better come out with something, or I'm gonna put something on your head. Really, they go to our family or someone you in love with and abuse them until you make that straw brick. The wickedness of some devils. So what I mean to say is that, so you know, Fatiha, I'll sit right and I'll study, stock market go way up. So if it go way up, you ain't gonna buy it. Why would you buy it here if it didn't went way up? You know it ain't, and now it might go way up, but not realistically. Realistically, if it go way up, you waiting for it to come way down. So look now, if it's a good company, what make it a good company? How much market capital they got, revenue. We're gonna look at all this with Adobe, but just so we understand. Market capital about 5 or 600 billion. Then that's a good ass company. That's how much they worth, right? So then you want to look at revenue, right? So they could be up about 5 or 600 billion, but that's realistic. But for my point, let's say a company worth about 30 billion. They could be up 30 billion as far as market capital, but they ain't making no money. Like their financial revenue is like negative $1 billion, right? Let me get it correct. I done forgot all that terminology. But, okay, so say I'm a company, I'm worth 30 billion, right? That's how much I'm worth to finance. If I sell everything, I'm gonna be 30 billion. Now I got a product. Now that product make about 15, say I make about 15 billion cash. Then they call, let's just look at let's get it correct. Okay, yes, revenue. So you can have a high revenue, but then what they call it, the net income, you ain't making no money. So you could be 30 billion market capital, then you can have a revenue of 10 billion. That means you got a product, you taking $10 billion from the planet population. Always understand, now you talking about a planet, every country got their currency, and everybody pocket in that country, the citizens, they got some cash. And you got a product on that ground level that's getting that cash. And so yearly, so after the entire year, it might be yearly, could be quarterly too. I don't know that, but just keep it simple. After that year, doing the taxes, you done made 10 million, I think it's called gross profit. They call it revenue. So you got $10 billion from your product coming in, but say it costs 20 billion. So you took 10 billion from the economy, the planet economy, but it cost you 20 billion. So you lost 10 billion. So now you don't really want to mess with that company, but them be the companies that be sometimes caking. Because again, they got something called expectation. So we're going to get back into that. So let's go back to probability, how making bricks out of straw. So you say, well, say it's a $500 billion company, market capital. They got a revenue, say they revenue 30 billion. They got a net income of 10 billion. That means they taking 30 billion from the planet, and then they making 10 billion. So that means it only costs 20 billion. So they paid 20 billion to make a product. They made 30 billion, and they made a $10 billion profit. So with something like that, right? If that company dropped, say that company dropped like $100, and it ain't nothing really dealing with the company as far as like a bad report, just to say the whole stock market just dropped. If that company dropped $100, then it's realistically, again, Dr. Watkins wrote his dissertation on stock market recovery. And I just think that's real powerful. Like that's real intelligent. I know they was happy as hell he did that, right? That's just real intelligent, right? So what he did was he wrote this. Now when you write your doctorate, now you talking about years of research. So he just researched when the stock market dropped. He studied the recovery pattern, I would assume, of the market. Because this is where you make your money. One of the reasons, I don't know, right? But this is where you make your money. You make your money in the recovery. So it's good. Okay. So when we talk about probability, if it dropped, it's a good probability that it's going to go right back up and far beyond where it was. So you're going to make a whole lot of money. You ain't got to be all into the company. You can just have the language and understand. You can have that skill. This is a skill. Why I say that's making a brick out of a straw is because, look, people got reports, inside reports. I'm sitting here beating my brain doing all this mathematics, and the people just got the reports. Should I control the stock market? You don't even know who I am. That's why I say all of that. And sometimes, so that's why I also say that even though we learn something new and we catch that spirit of God, but God already tell us to be humble. You know, people already know they getting money. And until we create our own, and they're not still wicked, deceiving the people, right? But they let Fatihah get on, and he can make a couple dollars, right? Get the hell on, slave. So, what? The book of Proverbs, God say the fool is quiet at the gate of God. The fool is quiet at the gate. Okay. So I say all that, right? Because still ain't Judah, ain't Muslim. God will give you this, the probability. Well, you just be crushing it once you learn how to do it, right? I say that because, I ain't seen, it's certain kinds of patterns and making them straw bricks But the first thing I ever seen that actually worked was expectation. And so you got to learn what expectation is. And expectation is let me write it up here again. This is where the money is. Expectation. Expectation is how much money is that company going to make? Correct? Like Adobe crushing it. It went down $50, but Adobe crushing it. They even made, we're going to look at the report again. Let's go to the report. Let's go to the report. Okay, no, I was about to say Adobe about to split. If we go to the report, now Adobe just that fast and went down $2. So if you're a day trader, if you would have sold it at $9, say you got $1 million, well you probably not have $1 million, but you might got 100,000. So you'd have made $20,000 just like that. That's big money. Like that's like big money. Okay. And I laugh, right, and making the bricks out of straw. I laugh because, well, that's a devil, right? But the devil like Fatiha, you can do it so much easier this way. I don't even mean like we in conversation, right? But the devil say, well, look, I done created the game, right? So Fatiha, all you gotta do is just think about it this way, and you'll get it. Okay. Well, let's go back. So if you go to when you go to stockanalysis.com and you put the company in, they'll give you the information, like what's going on with that company. As far as like news, they'll give you that information. Like up under, if you keep scrolling down, they'll give you the information about everything. That's why, that's real good. That's a lot of work too. And again, I like newspaper platforms, right? So it's just real good. Okay, let's see. Let's see if we can get a. Okay, we can't get it on that way, right? What was 10 days ago? 10 days ago was the 13th. I think that's the day, right? Hold on 1 second. We could be patient. Let me go back up. I might have to go to the internet, right? No, it was on the 12th, so no, I don't think. So hold on 1 second. We have to go to the internet. Let's go to the internet. And let's type in Adobe earnings report. Okay, now we want to actually read the report. Okay. Okay, I don't think we're going to be able to get the report, right? So we might have to change our mindset. Oh, we really need that report, right? let's see if we can go further, right? No, we can't even go further, right? Ah. Woo! Oh, that's kind of terrible. Okay. Okay. So we just need to read any type of report. So let's see what company that came out where we can look at their report, right? So if we go to earnings calendar, and they might have a company. Let's go back to a company that we might know. Now we could choose FedEx. FedEx had their jump on the 19th. So that's just a couple days ago, right? Let's do, that was a Thursday. General Mills, Ferguson Enterprise, Astronova. Well, none of them companies really seem interesting, right? Damn, they got Adobe right here. I can't believe we can't get their report, right? Okay, so we can't get their report. So let's go to Astronova. No, we ain't really heard. Nobody really heard about their company, right? Okay. So that didn't thrown us for a loss, right? Let's go to the 17th. We could look at Ferguson, right? But that's real close. General Mills is good, right? But they ain't gonna really have nothing. Let's go to we go to the 19th. Okay, we could do FedEx. They got Cracker Barrel. They got FedEx. Let's see if it's something separate, right? Okay, let's go to FedEx. Okay. Now we're gonna leave. We still gonna get with Adobe, and I know how to get to Adobe to the report, but that's gonna take some time, right? So I don't want it to just be like we don't know what's going on. But we're gonna leave Adobe up here, and it's at 531.77, and we still talking about expectation. But FedEx Corporation, let's write that on the board. Now, I don't feel no way about FedEx. It don't really get me excited. Now, I like the company, but I don't get excited because it's been around for a little while. And if you just look at FedEx, even with Amazon.com and how people ordering packages, you don't really, even though FedEx is there, you're really seeing that Amazon, that Prime with that penis symbol, right? And you seeing UPS because of the color. FedEx just got a dull logo. Like, as a social scientist, it's Amazon Prime, again with the penis symbol, right? They got their own trucks. That's real good. Even with Walmart real colorful. The UPS, they crushing it with the brown color, right? And then when you see FedEx, it's just real dull, right? It's not really keeping up. So that's why it's not really attracted to FedEx. But, they're still going to make you some money, right? Right now, look, FedEx is at $258. I think that's not high. And then it went up $3, right? And then over the last year, okay, and it went down a little bit over year to date, no, it's not doing too good if we go max, right? So it's likely to drop, and then it's going to go back. But when I say it's going to probably drop, it's probably going to drop to about 100. Now, when it dropped to 100, then I will buy it because it's already an established company. But yeah, let's look at FedEx. Actually, we're going to take Adobe down. I hate to take Adobe down, right? Because that was some good, but then, you know, Allah is the best knower. So we're going to say FedEx. FedEx Corporation. And then we're going to say it's at $258.27. And let me do this also. Now, if we go to the Adobe earnings report, let's put Adobe back up here. No, we're gonna put it up under FedEx Corporation. Now, I like to get the report where the CEO or the person running that thing, he let you know right there what it is. So we ain't gonna get that. We just gonna get a whole bunch of numbers. And right now, it done went up $7.64. Okay, so it says quarterly financials for August 2024. So it's for the last 3 months up until August. Their revenue was $5.41 billion. Listen now, their revenue was $5.41 billion. That means you have a planet. It's the planet Earth. And on this planet, it's a currency of finances. Planet got finances. And from the finances of the planet, this one company made $5.41 billion. And let's just get, since we back on Adobe, right? Hold on one second. Let's get the demographics correct. Okay, Adobe. Adobe has a market capital, meaning the cash, the activity of the company, everything that the company owns. If it cashed out and sold everything, including the stock price, it has a market capital of $235.17 billion. No, let me pronounce that correctly. $235.17 billion. $235.17 billion. That's how much Adobe is worth. Now, what is Adobe? Adobe Incorporated, together with its subsidiaries, which make up this 235.17, operates a software company worldwide. It operates through, so it's a software company. They come out with programs. And then from that 235.17 billion, they get into all kind of things, right? You get into whatever you want to get into. But they're a software company. So, brothers and sisters, Allah said, well, look, again, Judah, black in America, black on the planet, but Judah, black in America. This company, Adobe, has a market capital of $235.17 billion. Well, damn, how you make that much money? Or how do you create a company where you have that much value? Well, you got to get into making software programs, right? So, are you studying how to do that? How to make software programs? That's old. We should have been learned how to do that. Some of us have. We ain't, like the brother say, well, some of us have, but again, because we have been brainwashed from chattel slavery, we go work for Adobe if they hire you. And then once they call us an in so many times, instead of us still putting it together, well, I need to start my own Adobe, Google will finally hire us, right when we're about to get the thought. So Adobe is a software company. And let us understand, brothers and sisters, you got stars in the heaven. The devil was casted out of heaven, and they have no place so no more in heaven. And me and you are on the verge of about to lose our place in heaven, because you follow the devil. You following someone that don't even have no place in heaven. That's who you following. And they done lost their place. I say that because it be the stars in heaven that connect with that human being on the planet to give you that revelation to make that software. Adobe got some tight, so let's look at it, right? Let's go to Adobe's, the profile. The profile will tell you like who own it and all of that. It's owned with a CEO, even though it's a American company. The CEO is a Shantanu Narayan. Shantanu Narayan. So you know who that is. But let's look at some of the other people that got in there. You can't really, you can't really tell, because then, in America, to play that game, as far as like public relations and meeting people, you would have Caucasian males specifically in certain positions, but the CEO is Shantanu Narayan, that's Indian or somewhere in that area. We talking about the East Indian. And that don't mean nothing neither, right? Because you like, again, you trying to save your company. If Judah ain't acting right, then they ain't something where they will hire Judah. But no, they are gonna hire that Indian, or they gonna hire Barack. So the CEO is Indian or from that area, but that don't mean that it's an Indian company. So I could be totally wrong on that. But let us understand he black. But he not black American, right? Like Vice President Kamala Harris. Okay, so Adobe is worth $235.17 billion. They have a revenue, how much money they taking from the planet. How did I write 5.41? Why did I write that? Damn, where did I get that number from? They might have changed it too, right? They be freaking computers, right? Why did I write 5.41? No, is that the same company? Okay. So whatever that was incorrect. They have a revenue of $20.95 billion. And then let's look, brothers and sisters. I wrote 5.41 billion. Now I do be looking fast and I don't really pay attention. But no, they freaking them programs, right? Cause we went to a separate page, and then cause they listening, right? So again, they try to make you spooky. They're not our friends, right? But again, what the Bible said. So it's a correct. So, and again, they'll tell you anything. Making a brick out of straw. But they'll tell you anything. So we can only go with what we see. But we can put it together now. Adobe is a $235.17 billion company as far as what it's worth. Well, damn, how you do that? How you create a business where the business is worth $235 billion? Well, you got to get into, it's a software company. So you got to get into making software programs. And then, because you have a connection with God, you have stars in the heaven. Once you seek ye first the kingdom of God and all of his righteousness, then you can begin and could God connect them dots. They have okay, let me circle charity, because that's a good point. Now this is how you do charity. This is how you supposed to do charity. But the Bible say too, right? If you congregating, everybody put in, right? But with the hustle of Black America, it's just we need to have a correct look at that. So this is how you do charity. If Adobe making they revenue, how much they taking from the planet? Adobe taking $20.95 billion. $20.95 billion from the planet. That's just a little drop in the bucket. Nothing, but they getting it, right? $20.95 billion. So that's the total revenue. What they're making from this $20.95 billion is they're making $5.36 billion. So damn, when we talk about Steph Curry, right? This is what I'm trying to tell you. Well, again, you talk about Dr. Watkins. Well, I'm gonna talk about my daddy, right? My daddy is like a teacher. He's a social worker, but he has taught at a college level, and so he's a teacher. But I always noticed when he got a chance to retire, because he's a black man, he's very intelligent, right? So I was like, damn, brother, why don't you write a book, go on tour like Barack or something, right? He was like, no, I'm retired. So I could never understand, right? Because even if I say, well, look, I always like to be, I like to teach. So I say I'm going to always be teaching, right? But then you start messing with Dr. Watkins, right? And Dr. Watkins, why is you really going to college and just dealing with people that's your enemy? They don't like us, giving you high blood pressure and sugar anxiety, right? Right? Like why is you keep dealing with people like that instead of just starting your own business, staying out the way, and investing on the stock market and getting money on the stock market? Why is we keep dealing with this, right? On one level, it's education and knowledge, you know what I'm saying? But, I'll be starting to see that more clearly, just to learn how to do the stock market, right? But I think, too, right, you get lazy. You don't want to be like no farm animal, right? So, I don't know, it's how you look at that. I say that because, look, you know how much effort that is? This is a lot of effort. It's a lot of effort. And even though they made $20.95 billion, they took $20 billion from the planet, they only made, now this is a billion with a B now, but they only made $5 billion. They only made $5 billion. but they gross 20 billion. But out of all that effort, just in dealing with people, is it really worth it? 5 billion? You see what I'm saying? To do it again, unless this is your life, like how I say I like to teach, then that's something separate, right? But if you're going to work to make 5 billion, then that's a lot of effort. But understand this, right? If we were to come out with a software company, down the line, all of this is longevity. They say one day to God is like 50,000 years. So we talking about, 10, 15 years from now, 20, 30 years from now. But to get the foundation created. Because if we making $5 billion a year, well, you mean to tell me we can't do charity? Brother, you keep talking about you need charity. If I'm making $5 billion a year, you see what I'm saying? Charity, that's not even a question. Hey, take this 100,000. We beating poor people in the head for charity. That's why I don't understand. So how do you do charity? Well, shit, we got to create the companies. Some people can't pay charity. We got to create the company. If I'm making $5 billion a year, I can't get you $100 million if we organize. Like if you got charity companies all over, then that's something separate. But we one nation of people. So when you have a business, how I see it, right, to do charity, because inshallah, when I get a business, and if it's making money, with money coming in, well, look, I go to my books, or if I look at my taxes, and I'm actually paying taxes on $100,000, well, then I'm doing about $10,000 charity. Now, I'm not asking you to donate. You can donate if you want to, and we can bring you in and look at your sincerity, and we can get it going like that. But real deal, people ain't got money, and then it's the devil. The devil ain't gonna give you nothing. And then how long you gonna keep asking the same people? Like, that get kind of monotonous after a while, brother, especially if we working at Walmart. I just gave you $10, or I just gave you $10. You come back the next week with asking for $10 more? Well, look, what kind of business you doing where you got to keep asking people, and so no, that's not gonna work. But then also too, we want to come from the Bible, see how the Bible said it. Now I know the Bible do say that, right? But again, that's in a vacuum with people that believe as a nation, right? But again, also, it go back to you got to have that employment, or you got to have some finance coming in. It go back to finance coming in, right? So if Adobe was a black company, black software company, and they came out with better products than what Adobe got, would the planet give us $20 billion? Do you have a black company? Now, we do got a couple of black companies that's doing it, but realistically, if you come out with a product that's better than if you're a black-owned software company, and you come out with a product that's better than Adobe, and you market it just like Adobe, even though the brother black, but you a black man, black woman from America, or you a black man, black woman from Africa, what they call Africa. If you came out with the same company, but it was better, would you get $20 billion? Right? Then look, you got to start looking at who control the currency, right? So that might shrink our planet base, right? And then depending I don't know, but that's something to look at, right? I say that's something to look at because you might not want to do software, right? If you know they're going to discriminate against you, I'm talking about as a child, how you going to shape that child? First is mathematics, math analysis, right? After you Sikh, you Muslim, making prayer and everything. So after all of that, then how is he going to create this 20 billion? God said, that's a point too. God ain't really said that you can get that 20 billion with a software company. God said that Adobe got the 235 or the 20 billion with a software company. So now God's saying, well, look, you a black man, black woman with a history of slavery, or you from what they call Africa. You the beginning of everything. Do you think that you're going to get 20 billion from a software company? I'm going to give it to you, the intelligence and everything. But is the devil really going to spend with you or you'll be up? I don't know. Right? We do need software, programs that's going to make everything move. Okay. But in a vacuum, if I'm making 5 billion profit, then I can do charity. We can get charity structure where we bring companies in that's making this type of money. Okay, now they have a whole separate types of stats that they give you when you start looking at the company. But I think the only thing we need to realize is that they say and buy this company as far as the analysts. So if you listen to them, sometimes I listen to them, sometimes I don't. It just depends. Okay, so let's go back to their earnings report. Okay, that's where I got the 5.41 billion. Okay, I was looking at the earnings report. Okay, so it's just an update. It's an update of the internet site. They need to well, it's not what they need, but if they update their information from this last report, it'll show a change in information. Okay, so again, let's look. Adobe this past quarter, they made 5.41 billion. That's how much they took from the planet. They took in 3 months. You see what I'm saying? In 3 months, they took $5 billion from the planet. You see what I'm saying? And I tell you, look, I got revelation from God. I stand on the corner with the word of God to let us know what's going on. For 8 hours, I make $8. I was like, damn. But again, it was my money. But it was that's $1 an hour. They made $5 billion in 3 months. $5 billion in 3 months. You can give 1 month of what they made to charity and not miss it. And we could become a powerful nation. Well, how you do that? Well, Adobe did it off of software. But is Adobe a devil company? Is it? Are these people up in here Muslim? Well, we know the CEO, he comes from a nation of prophets. That's one of the prophets on the planet, India. So that's going to let you know a little bit about how he thinks. Right, but would they have an African? Now we got African companies that make billions, but is it on this level, right? Is it going to be on this level? He made $5 billion last 3 months. They net income, so out of this $5 billion, what they brought in, what they took from the planet, they took $5 billion from the planet, they put in their pocket $1.68 billion. That's how much Adobe put in. When Adobe took that $5 billion, they put $2 billion in their pocket. And then they got So then they show you the percentages. Look, everything financially bad, brothers and sisters. They talking about inflation. Everything bad. You look at people, they wages ain't going up. They not making no more money than what they was making last year. But this right here, this $5 billion, that's a 10% increase. They increased in what they made. They net income, the profit, they profit increased 20%. So those are the only two things we're going to focus on that we need to focus on. Look, understand now, are you doing financially better than last year, or are you doing financially worse? I'm not talking about spiritually. Are you doing spiritually better or spiritually worse? Are you from last year? Are you still in the hole now, poor, having to go work minimum wage, or you just working a job? And it's the same this year or worse. Prices then went up. Or is it better? Are you taking your salary that went up? You're doing good. And then look at the people around you. Are they prices going up, or are they prices going to what they spending out compared to what they bringing in? Is that good or bad? Well, look, Adobe said they don't give a damn about none of what you talking about, because this $5 billion that they just made, they made $5 billion. You say that's a lot of money, but look, it is a lot of money. But that's a 10% increase. And this 20% increase is what they put in their pocket. They made, and then we talking about billions. Okay. But we talk about expectation. And this is one of the first things I had to come to grips with, is that even though Adobe crushed it, they beat the odds. You got people that be like, well, Adobe is only going to make this amount. They beat all of that. But the reason why the Adobe stock dropped $50 is because they really maxed out. Like the next year, they got like the CEO, right, the brother from India, he'll come up and he'll talk to people. That's why I wanted to read the actual report, his words, because he'll come up before the people and he'll say, well, even though we made more money, we put more money in our pocket, but how we looking at how people buying our product, 2025, we ain't really gonna make nothing but the same amount. He didn't say he was gonna lose. They still gonna make their profit, but he said that they not gonna make more than what they making now. See, that's called expectation. What do you expect to make next year? They got to tell you that. And if they get caught lying, then this stock price, it dropped $50, but it's gonna come around when the real report come out. If it don't say what he done said, it's gonna go way down. So they, on some levels, have to be honest. And so they'll come, and that's why I wanted to again read the report. But he'll say, well, we don't really think we're gonna make that much. You know a good report. Now that's going back far too, right? We had the one joke. Okay, so let's talk about expectation again. Now everything is kind of like confused, but I'm thrown off because again we can't read the report, so it might sound kind of crazy. So we're gonna try to come back around to math analysis. But let's understand this expectation. We still got Fed. Okay, no. Let's see if we can go to the FedEx report. FedEx is up $4 right now. FedEx is 63 billion. That's their market capital. Look now, Adobe is $235 billion. FedEx just delivering packages. They worth $63 billion. You can start that. What type of business is FedEx? FedEx Corporation, together with its subsidiaries, provides transportation, e-commerce, and business services in the United States and internationally. So they just provide transportation for your packages. If you got a package you trying to send it, you got to have airplanes, you get the bank loan, right? You got good credit, you buy a couple of airplanes, you buy a couple of delivery trucks, and you good to go. You have a market capital eventually of $63 billion. You do all that with a bank loan. They making $87 billion. This is FedEx now. FedEx is making $87 billion a year what they take from the planet. Every year, FedEx is recorded as taking $87 billion from the planet. But they're only making $4 billion. That's another thing you need to look at too when you try to decide what stock you're going to get with. How much are they making? How much are they taking from the planet compared to how much they're actually making? That's a big difference. That's a lot of energy. Like, that's a lot of energy where you're taking $87 billion, but you're only making $4 billion. And when I say that's a lot of energy, what I mean to say is that's a lot of waste. You're talking about, what's that, $83 billion? So it costs $83 billion to make your product. And you're only making $4 billion. So that's a lot of waste. Okay, but they are profitable because they're making $4 billion. So let's go to the earnings report. Let's see if we can get the earnings report. When did the earnings report come out? Earnings report for FedEx came out on the 19th. So that would be, let's see. What you talking about, 4 days ago? You know, brothers and sisters, I do this all the time. And then look, the vice president, yeah, brothers from India are crushing it, brothers and sisters. Okay, so let's read this right here. This is a good one. Now let's read, listen to what the article says. Now we're talking about expectation. It doesn't matter. Listen, you can look at the earnings reports. Always understand we're picking on earnings reports because it's the earnings reports where the company, like the company during the 3 months, right? It'll go down, it'll go up, it'll go down. But it's when them earnings reports come out that it go way up and you'll make a lot of money, or it'll go way down and you'll make a lot of money. So and the number one reason why a stock company will go up or down is because of what their expectation is. If that CEO says that, look, these next couple of years that's coming up, we about to make billions. If he say that or if she say that, that thing going way up. But if he come out and say, well, look, nah, we don't think, even though we're going to make some money, and I don't mean like we're going to lose money. If he say, well, look, we ain't going to get no new customers, it's gonna go way down. I had that same problem with I had this one company, right? And I like this company. I actually like it, right? It's it's called AER. I had to keep this company for so long, and then I ended up just wanting to keep it. But they was making, it's a small capital company too, right? Oh, when I first got on, I used to cake with this company. Like, I make $10, $15 like it wasn't nothing. But then they came out with one report where they deal with, it's a semiconductor company, but they was dealing also with electrical vehicles. 2023 with Tesla, electrical vehicles was like real commercial. It was trending heavy. I didn't even know that. I don't even really mess with electrical vehicles because they got something called lithium. And lithium, how they mine lithium is real dangerous to the environment. So that's going to be a problem eventually. So I didn't know they was even connected with that. But they stock went way up, right? That's because during that summer period, they was messing with the electrical vehicles. And that was a trend. Everybody was getting them vehicles. But when people, so then you got the customers, right? The customers are saturated. Well, he done sold everything. He done sold all these parts to these electrical companies. Now he got to wait for that to come back around, that customer to come back around. So his earnings report, he was saying that they was backed up with no new customers. And there won't really no new customers coming. But they a good company. Like they are profitable. And they make good products. Their customers were saturated. And what this brother said right here, where I got it from, he said the earnings report. That's why you should never really, if a company, it's tricky too, right? If a company is not profitable, I mean, it depends on what type of company it is, but I initially wouldn't really mess with it. Dr. Watkins, I had to tell me, you should purchase this company. But if it's not marketable, if it's not profitable, that means when you go and you look at, they got something where they show you the earnings. If that thing negative, nah, don't mess with it unless the market capital is in the hundreds of billions. Like if it's $100 billion company, but they ain't making no money, then either that company gonna go bankrupt or it's about to blow up. Other than that, they got to be making a profit because they say that it'll be the earnings report that saves the company from going down. So that's correct, because with this company right here, right, it would go up like $5 or $6, right? So I might have 10 shares, so I'll make $50. So then it caught me looking one time, right? Well, I don't want to say it like that. It happened where I might have had 5 shares and it went down. And then it just kept going down. And then I started looking at the graph, right? How it was going down from when it was trending with the electrical vehicles. When people stop buying them vehicles, I think they don't really do that good during the wintertime. So that thing just kept going down, right? So then it kind of like went up a little bit. I'll never forget. It was the day of Christmas, the day before the New Year. It was at 29, right? I think I was up $50. I had went way down, and I had never had that happen to me before, right? Like 400 in the hole. So then I had it where it was up to like $50, where I could put $50 in my pocket. Then everybody sold. The smart investors sold. And that thing went down to 23. And then the earnings report came out. It went down to 19 because he said they wasn't really in the near future. They wasn't getting no new customers. And then that thing went all the way down. I caught another earnings report. I couldn't get rid of it. I was in a hole with this company right here about $3,000. I got caught with, I'm going to tell you what happened. I got caught with that company right there, and I got caught with Riot. Riot had me in the hole where I had lost everything. Well, I hadn't lost everything, but I'm talking about the margin. Like I'm talking about margin. Always understand now, if you put $2,000 on the stock market, that's 2 G's. They're gonna give you 2 G's. If you put $4,000 on the stock market, they're gonna give you $4,000. That's $8,000. You just gotta pay the interest on the $4,000, right? That's easy to do. So I was in the hole on this right here, but I couldn't do nothing. Every day I was looking at, they got something called margin call. Well, unless you pay the margin call, you can't do nothing. I used to look at that thing every day. Wow, I stopped investing. And just went to sleep, right? That's not bad. The stock market is going to go down before it goes up. Always understand that. But it's going to go up, inshallah. But look now. They say that it's the earnings report, the profitability of the company. Is the company profitable? Like, is it making a profit? It's the profit of the company that's going to save the earnings report. So eventually, when this company customers came back around, yo, again, you know how much money you could have made? It was down to $9. Look, now I had it at $29. I had brought shares at $29. I think right before everybody sold it, I had brought some shares at $28, right? I might have brought like 2 shares, right? So I might have had 10 shares. So that's $290. Yo, that thing dropped down to $9. And then along the way, right, it go to $18, so you buy 2 more, dollar cost averaging. It go back down to $15, you might buy 5 more, right? So remember now, my price was right here. If I had made $50, that means I had it at $28.50. You dollar cost average, I got it down to about $15. But it was at $9. So we was fighting it right there, right? This is where they drew the line. And then he came out with an earnings report just recently, but I had to keep it for a year now. I brought this in June. I didn't get rid of it until May of 24. So I had to keep it for about a year. But when the earnings report came, and the numbers was off the roof, because it was always a profit, they was always making money. It's just the expectation, what you're going to do in the future. That thing went from $9 to $21, just like that. I couldn't keep it for the full 21 because I just had so much. The brother Dr. Watkins, he say don't put more than 5% of your portfolio into a company. I'm not even going to tell you what it was, but it was up there. But that thing went from $9 to $21 in like 3 days. So let's get back focused, right? We're talking about expectation. Expectation is where the money is. When you trying to decide what type of stock you're gonna mess with, what is that company going? That's all it is. You can look at how much money they're making. Yeah, you want the company to be profitable, but if that company losing money, like a lot of pharmaceutical companies, they got a negative profit. But what is the expectation? And it's the expectation that makes that profit, that makes that stock go up or down. So I told you this was the first time I had ever seen what that meant, right? Okay. So Dr. Watkins, right? It's just how we be receiving information. You got the tech companies that make the microchips. You got NVIDIA. You got MU. MU got an earnings report coming up this week. We want to look at how expectations affects the earnings report, because which one did we see? Then you got like a SMCI. Then you got AVGO. Okay, no, I seen it with AVGO. AVGO just had an earnings report also. Theirs was a ways back too, though. You ain't gonna be able to get it. Then you got TSM. Then you got AMD. I mess with AMD. I like AMD. And then you got so it's more than that, right? You got like Marvel, MRVL. Then you got Microchip, MCHC, and MCHP. And these are really, like, you got something called artificial intelligence, and that's gonna be real good. And that's, we just at the threshold of artificial intelligence, even with the robots and everything. So you got these companies right here that make them microchips. And NVIDIA is a $3 trillion company. And you could have made so much money with NVIDIA. You could have got in late. I think Dr. Watkins said he bought NVIDIA when it was at $5. He made $100 million, right? Made a lot of money, like, right? So that's what we more or less be looking for as poor people. Cause like again, how it seems, a lot of my enthusiasm is not that I'm making a lot of money, but I'm where people making a lot of money. So if I stay with it, I be patient. Then I don't have no income coming in. So if you got income coming in where you can feed this, like I'm regurgitating what I already have. That's not the same as where you got money in the stock market, and then you got like a salary, or you might have $50,000, $60,000 coming in where you can just feed it, and feed it, and feed it, and feed it, till you get to a certain point. You ain't even got to mess with it no more. Right? So, understand now, it's not really where, I mean, it's not that coming from a certain economic level, you're just going to be a millionaire. No, it takes 10, 15 years. But this is where we're going to be. This is where it is. This is it right here. Compared to, well, look, you got $300 or $400 million, or you got $1 million, oh, you ain't got to do nothing. You could just nothing. That's why I say, well, you know, do you really want to get your education and actually learn them things? You're always going to have to seek the kingdom of God. Like, what if you was just a millionaire, you was letting your money flip, and you was just making your prayers? But I think God would move you and say, I mean, you know, you get bored of just reading books, going to Barnes and Nobles every day, right? You can't be eating cheesecake every day, you know what I'm saying? Vacationing. Okay. So you got these microchip companies. They make chips for artificial intelligence, computers and all of that. You got Intel too, right? Intel is real low. You might want to take a, well, no, they say Intel ain't no good, but you got to start looking at companies like Intel and Whirlpool. Those are good, well, okay. But I'm going to take Intel off of here, but I think Intel might make a comeback. Something you should probably look at. But it's these companies right here, and so these companies been crushing it with the expectation. When artificial intelligence first came out, so Dr. Watkins was speaking on all of this. When artificial intelligence, AI, when it first came out, because of what it was doing, the phenomenon of it, they had like a big expectation of what it just was going to do. Like, it's already revolutionizing industry and everything, but they saying, like, when they first seen it, they were saying, like, well, where the money at? They're going to make a lot of money. But over a period of these last couple of months, they've been looking and saying, well, maybe these companies are overvalued in making these chips for artificial intelligence, because it ain't really like, where is it making money at? Yeah, these people making money from the chips, but what are the chips doing to make money? Now, artificial intelligence is phenomenal, brothers and sisters. Like, again, as Muslims, we are pious, so we very skeptical about what we're going to put our money into. But AI, like, they got something like them chat GPTs and all of that. AI is actually real good. So I still invest in the companies. But again, the analysts or people who control these prices, they say, well, where the money at? Like, where's the AI? Where is AI going to make money at? So they're saying, look, AI ain't making no money. So everybody was like down, right? And Dr. Watkins was like, because of the expectation for what this is not doing, these prices going to go down on these companies. So I ain't really know what he was talking about, right? So then this company right here, AVGO, Broadcom. Dr. Watkins was saying that be skeptical now. All these companies that went way up. This company right here then did some crazy. This joint went from $200 to $1,100. I seen the Caucasian, he done took his shirt off and everything, just, we partying. What? It went from $200 to $1,100, just like this. Oh, I seen a jump. I purchased it because of its name. I think it says Super Micro Computer. So any company that's gonna say they Super Micro, like with AEHR, right? I don't even know what the company name, I don't even know what the company is. I just like how AE is like the Aegean Islands, right? So you know what I'm saying? So I'm still kind of remedial in how I invest. But I seen how much they was partying. They was partying hard with this right here. I was so sick, right? I'm gonna tell you, right? I'm gonna tell you how I got sick, right? So I had SMCI, right? This is dealing with the earnings reports, with what Dr. Watkins was saying about the expectation of AI and how they ain't really see no money in it. Even though these companies is profit, 100% profit up, increase. SMCI, the thing with SMCI, I think they were saying that was saturated, but they had confused the information too, right? They were saying that they margin, what they was working, they margin, they had saturated their margin, something crazy. But in the end, it was just their expectation. But I think at one time, just a couple months ago, you could buy SMCI, it would go up 100, you would make $100 if you had one share. Then it would go back down, then it would go back up. So that was a repetition on that joint. So I had it. It was at 560, right? I had 2 shares. Look now. I think I had it at what was my price? I had it at like 620. I think I might have had it at 620. It was at 560. That's 60. That's nothing. This company went from 200 to 1,100. So $60 not nothing. But you'll still be like, damn, that's $60. I had to get over that. I remember you might lose $10 and get sick. But the earnings report, now with the earnings reports now, you got to stay there or you can get rid of it, right? But I mean, Dr. Watkins say don't sell, right? So listen to him, right? So you got to stay there, right? So we had the earnings report coming up. It was at 560. Yo, it went up to 720. It went up to 720. It was like, what's up, Fatih Hassa? Look, right? Actually, I had 4 of these. I didn't have, I think I had 4. I had 4. Because I sold, okay, so look, I had 4 of these. So that's like 2,400. It went up to 720, and it stood at 720, right? Like when the earnings report come out, if it's good or bad, that's tricky now. But depending, the earnings report come out, it'll go way up or it'll go way down. So that's just gonna let you know how your day is, right? So SMI, right? SMCI, it went way up to 720. It was at 560. Listen to what I'm trying to tell you. I was already in the hole. What's that? 40, 60? I had 4. Listen, I was already, with just 4, I was in the hole $240. Because that's a $60 difference. It went up to $720. So that's $660. So that was $140, $140. Hold on, let me make sure. 100, no, that's $160. On 4 shares. That's 400. That's 400. And then another 240. That's 640. But my price was $620. So I didn't get that full $560. I got $100. Now always understand now, you ain't just got that one stock. That's another way to do it. You can flip it like that, where instead of diversifying, if I were to focus all my finances on this one stock, then yeah, I would have caked. But I got stock everywhere, and you might be losing on one stock, but you up on this stock. So you profit on this stock, but you losing on another stock. You just got to really understand that what I'm trying to tell you is that when you invest, yeah, you will make some money over a certain period of time, but you got to really look. The stock market is not a casino. It's long-term investing. And I only say that because, again, yeah, you going to make some money, but it's not how you think, well, we just flipping and making money. But people is flipping and making money because they got millions of dollars. It's like you get to a certain financial level with finances, and the money take on a certain type of, it's really an exponential increase. Right? If it's just ones and twos, yeah, it's going to increase. But when you start getting to like 10s and 20s, what they call it, like compound interest, that thing just trickle up. But look now, look at how it happened. It went up to 720. And then guess what it did, right? Some told me, like I had already seen it, right? But you start second guessing yourself. And then real deal, Dr. Watkins tell you that you really should just sit there and hold it and get that understanding. Now, he don't say the understanding part, but the Bible tell you you get wisdom and you get understanding. And then the Bible also say there are certain things that make you wealthy in the right now, but in the longevity it makes you poor. And it make you poor, certain things that make you poor right now, but in the long term it make you wealthy. So I'm trying to learn that, right? But again, you be sick because you done lost that money. You done lost that. So look at what it did, right? I knew it was going to do that. But, you get tired of just messing with it, all kind of things, right? But I knew it was going to do that, but this is what it did. It went from 560 to 720, because when you start learning the language, they're going to say, look, we're going to give you a chance to take your money out. The people that be invested, the smart investors, we're going to give you a chance to take your money out. I was like, no, let me just, I kind of like the company. It then went up to 1,100. Let's just see what's going on. Yo, that thing went down to 387. No. Like 386. Yo, it was at, listen now, it was at 560. I had 4 shares. It went up to 720. I sat there and looked at it. And then it went down to $386. And it still hasn't recovered. It's at like 5, no, it might be at 4 something. No, it's at 450 something. It's going, inshallah, it's going to go back up. They about to split and everything, right, which is good. But yo, you know how sick I was. I sat there and I seen how I went. I went from whatever that was. That might have been $400. I went from $400 to like 200 on each one. I think I sold one and I lost 200 on three. So I was down like 600. Oh, and there ain't nothing you can do. And then when you ain't got no money to, like, you can't buy no more. And then if you could buy some more, you can't buy no more right now. You shouldn't, unless you got billions of dollars. Well, you don't care if it keep dropping. You gotta wait until it drop. Then it ain't gonna drop because it's a marketable, it's a profitable company. It's a good company, sort of, kind of. But I already knew that, right? So that's when I started putting it together. When this dropped, and I had seen I had seen the characteristics when it was at 200 to go to 1100. Well, I started to see what was going on, right? So this was like the last thing I took that loss. Where I didn't like that feeling. Because then you start feeling like you start seeing how you think. Well, you know you gamble and that's speculation, you don't feel good. You're like, oh, you don't want that paranoia where you about to lose it feeling. Right? That's real. So this is when I started seeing, when I seen this company do that, that's when I started kind of putting it together, right? So again, I done talked a long time, and I pray that if you're listening, you're not bored, and that you're actually getting something from it. Okay. So it's expectation. It's what the company is going to do. So when SMCI did that, and that's when I started, like initially Dr. Watkins, he was talking about the expectation, right? And he didn't even say that. He was just talking about how AI wasn't doing what it was supposed to do. But then when I seen it with SMCI, right, I was like, oh no, he talking about, I was like, that's real. Like it don't really make sense until it makes sense. But I was like, no, the expectation is real. Because look now, it's somebody is pricing these stocks when this information come out. Because if I'm invested in the stock and a report come out that the stock doing bad, how do I have enough time to read the report and then to look at it intelligently? I seen one, right, when I was trying to catch the reports in the little window. And it was one pharmaceutical company. This is how I knew they were smart, right? They had a part, like when pharmaceutical companies come out with a test, if it's a positive, say it's a test on cancer, and they say, well, look, we done found something that's going to get rid of this cancer. They publish that. And then from that report, if it say positive, that junk go way up. So I seen one company that did that, so I invested in it, right? And it still went way down, right? So I was like, how the hell it go down if it's a positive test result? So I read the report. Yo, they break it down. They was like, look, this company right here, it's a generic drug for the real drug. And then the generic drug didn't have the same results as the real drug. So therefore they dropped that joint. I was like, oh, okay, hold on a second. It's a little bit more like the people ain't dumb. So I still ain't understood that, right? Because if I ain't got the report, and then I don't really know how to read the report, why is that I ain't got time to drop it? Why I done sold it? Well, 1 billion of us done sold that. So you know, I'm still looking at that. But okay, so then I started seeing that it was real, that the expectations. So I was like, let's make sure. So AVGO, Broadcom, they're a real good company too, right? They're actually real good. I wouldn't mind owning AVGO. Like, if I'm going to put a company in my portfolio, this is one of those companies that I would do that with. And they had a good price too. They just did a stock split. So if you got a couple of dollars, even though they way high, I would get 1 or 2 shares and you can build on that, right? So, but they had an earnings report coming up. So I was like, well, we're going to see what's going on, right? It's the mindset of the stock market. And yup, they dropped because of the expectation. They had the same expectation as I want to say Nvidia, but I don't know if Nvidia had an earnings report. No, Nvidia did just have an earnings report, and they expect it ain't dropped crazy, right? But it dropped like $6 or $7. That's not really nothing for Nvidia. You'll get that back real easy. But I seen it with Nvidia. That's when Dr. Watkins was talking about the expectation of AI. They still gonna be making billions of dollars, but what they thought they was gonna be making, it's not the same. So then I was like, well, let's test it to make sure. And AVGO dropped, same reason, expectation. They said the same thing. So now we got this one coming up. It's called MU, Micron Technologies. They have an earnings report. It's either Thursday or Wednesday. It might be tomorrow, but I think it's Thursday. The only thing with MU is that MU is not at a high point. It's not at a peak where to go up. It's still kind of low, right? I think it's at $89. Actually, it's at $92. That's actually a real good price. This company right here is probably worth about $150. I'm thinking realistically, it's gonna go up to about probably $400. It's gonna do $350. Right? If it's any type of what we already seen as far as AVGO, Nvidia, I don't think it's an Nvidia, but I'm sure it's probably an AVGO or AMD. I think it might. Now they just downgraded it, but I want to say it's at it's still very cheap, $90. If you can get a chip company that people are talking about for $90, that's actually good. But we're gonna see what's going on, and the only reason I say now, look, let's look at it now. It make microchips now. If you're talking about artificial intelligence, regardless of what these analysts saying, no, artificial intelligence is gonna make a lot of money. They just don't know what, like they can't, I don't even know, but I know in messing with it, that it's an avenue that they don't know about at this time, but it's gonna come out. It's like water busting through a wall or busting through a rock, right? That rock's solid, but that water busting on it, right? So then it's gonna bust through. They're gonna be like, oh, okay, they're making money right here. So once that happens, and then it's gonna be happening, they're gonna be like, okay, AI making money, and all of these chip companies gonna be going up. So even if this company drop, right? That's why I want to see. Now this is what we want to look at with this company right here. It's at a low price for a microchip company when you're talking about artificial intelligence. It's not like an Nvidia or an SMCI or an Adobe or an AVGO. Even though you look at Nvidia and these companies right here, they done did a stock split. But they peak is like way up here. So you're talking about these companies was 800 and 1,000. AVGO was like 1,200. And they did a stock split where they give you more shares, but the price be lesser. So they dropped back down to 100. I think AVGO is like at probably 50 or 60. And we talking about, I'm looking at Chipotle too, right? But MU is just fresh. It's at $80. And so it's not realistic that this company right here gonna drop down to $60. It's just the market capital. Even though they might not be profitable, they just got too many. It's just worth too much for that stock price to be that low. So that's what we want to look at. Is that correct in thinking that? Also understand that people do whatever they want to do. Always understand that. Making bricks out of straw. Let people do whatever they want to do. Yeah, the companies say one thing and this is what it says. But if they say, look, no, we want this stock to go down, this stock gonna go down. We want this stock to go up, this stock gonna go up. So brothers and sisters, as second-class citizens, we have to understand that you just put your money in where your money can get in and you be intelligent. Invest. The stock market is not a casino. invest smart, invest wisely, and you playing somebody else's game. So understand that. And until you create your own game, try to make a little money here, try to make a little money there, always understand that the stock market has never went down and never not come back up. And we ain't even yet to talk about the crashes. You catch a crash, what? I sat here and seen the crash. It was late night. I wasn't even going to mess with the stock market. I just happened to be up studying. And I messed around and was like, well, let me just, because I look at Bitcoin, right? You know, you can do Bitcoin all times of the night, whatever. So I was like, let me see my Bitcoin price, right? And I messed around and went to the stock market. Yo, everything, that thing was, it was beautiful. Oh, it was beautiful. Everything had just dropped. Like every stock, like how many stocks you got? Every stock had dropped. Damn near. I'm talking about big numbers. That don't say 10%, Nvidia 10%, AVGO. And I had these companies now, but I was like, yo, that's amazing. And then look, I didn't even have no money to buy once these stocks dropped. But it was just, you know how I think, right? It was just how I seen that jump. AVGO, 11%, SMCI. Oh, let's look at a video when the most recent crash happened, right? Now the stock market crashed all the time. I think I told you something. Well, I was like, I ain't pay too much attention when I first started messing with the stock market. The feds, right? They say this and that. No, the feds be messing with the market. I done seen analysts come out, first the stock market, first the stock will drop, and then an asshole analyst, will come out and downgrade the stock. If you own it, especially if he know you own it, to make it drop some more. So you just gotta be patient, but you ain't got no money. All your money in that stock. So that's it for you. You just gotta, But going back to my point, Nvidia was at, Nvidia dropped to $89. It was at 116. They had a discussion when you should buy Nvidia. Dr. Watkins said don't mess with it. I might have bought 1 or 2 shares when it went down to like 107. That thing went down to $89. And then it went right back up to like $120. Now Nvidia right now is probably at 125. This crash was like a month ago. And you did that on every stock. Every stock went down. When you went to your portfolio, when they showed you how much money you lost about, well, you know my joint, I probably lost about $3,000. And they ain't high. So that's another aspect of the stock market. Because when you drop 3,000, no. The brother wrote his dissertation on the recovery of the stock market. So you're supposed to have money. So how he said, right, then we're going to try to get into some analysis. How he said is that you never invest more than 5%. When I say he, I'm talking about Dr. Watkins. You never invest more than 5% of your finances on any one stock. And then you always have at least 10% value, cash available to invest, right? So say you got $2,000. They give you a margin of $2,000. So you're working with $4,000. Now you're talking about $4,000. Yeah, that's good for us. Sort of, kind of. If you're talking about, well, that's not good if you're talking about manhood and responsibility as an adult. But you're just talking about, we poor. Now that's good for us. But these brothers and sisters, look, they got billions of dollars. They got millions of dollars. You can just look at what type of culture we come from. If you're talking about any rapper you can name, and you know they all millionaires, so you can only imagine what we could do if we had that knowledge. So you're talking about $4,000. 5% of 4,000 is what, 800? No, I don't even know, right? Brothers and sisters, my brain, right? I get it confused. Is it? So it's 4 times 0.05, 0, 0, 0, 20, 0, 0, 0, 0. So that's 2, 0, 0, 0, 0. $200? Is it $200? It might be $200, right? So 50% is 2,000. 25% of that is 1,000. So then that'll be like, what, 12.5. 12.5 is 500. Right. So yeah, I think it's 200. So 5%, I wanted to say 800, right? Okay. We know 10%, well, yeah, it is 200. Okay, because 10% is 400. So let's look, right? He say never invest more than 5% of your total market capital. You can call this a market capital for your business. Because you're an investor. You're a private investor. You can name it whatever. Never spend more than 5% on one stock from your market capital. So that's $200. So you just talking about like, yeah, like that's actually real good. So that's one share of NVIDIA, one share of AVGO. You might get 2 shares of MU. Now that's not going to, see, so this is what I'm trying to get you to understand. This ain't really flipping money. This is long-term wealth where you buy that and you just go to sleep and that's it. You pour in America. Compared to where the money at. People making billions of dollars. So that's what he say, we try to follow that rule. We follow that rule now to save you from a lot of heartache, sickness. And then he say, and you always try to keep, or you keep 10% for when the market crash. Now, let's just see 10% of 4,000, is it 400? Damn, I hate I don't know that. Is it 400? 10%, 10 times, yeah, it's 400. So you always keep 400 somewhere. So when the market crash, you can buy it. And that's how it works. So you keep 400 when the market, because the market gonna crash. It's just it corrects itself over a certain period of time. So when it crash again and everything go down 10 and 15%, you'll have 10% of your portfolio for that. Well, if you only got 1 or 2 shares of however many companies, you just buy what then went down what you like. And over years, because you want to hold it for at least, what they say, 5 years. I don't know how realistic that is with today's environment. See, a lot of times we talking about the 30s and the 40s, right? But they've been fighting wars, but we're coming to the climax from the biblical prophecy. So that's why, again, you know, we just going to see what's going on. But over a certain period of time, if you keep doing this, you'll eventually make a lot of money. And when you get to that, once you get over that ledge, or say you up to $50,000, then you can start getting busy. Taking that whole 50, you're gonna take 25 and put it here. And if it drop, you got another 25. You know it's gonna eventually go back up. So that's when you start getting to that, where you done made $1 million. And you tell that story, look, I started from my stimulus. They was when the COVID, remember COVID? When, inshallah, when COVID came around, they gave that stimulus. I kept my stimulus and I invested on the stock market. Okay. So let's look at some math analysis. Math analysis, always understand, seek ye first the kingdom of God and all of his righteousness. Got to put your brain back together from chattel slavery. So we're going to do that with math analysis. Always understand that Moses or Musa went into the caves and hillsides of Europe. He took with him trigonometry, right? That's all just symbolism for math. He took with him math. And he taught the European math from what they call Kemet, or you could just say our antiquity math, black people on the planet. He took that mathematics up into the caves and hillsides of Europe, and he taught the European mathematics. And with that math analysis, they came out of the caves, right? And so here we are today. So we're going to learn math analysis, and I'm going to tell you what's real good, brothers and sisters. I just remember, right? Because we don't have that much time. And I wanted to see how this sounds. Now, again, we got something called the Math Club, right? And this is a part of the Math Club. I mean, we can call it whatever we want to call it. But we just learning, research. So what I want to look at, like when you come to these lectures, from math analysis, we're going to try to just learn a lot of everything. So if you go to my internet site, www.fatihaduwasharia.com, if you go to that internet site, and if you go to something, let me see how I have it on here. fatihaduwasharia.com. If you go to research books, I have a book up there. It's called Zionism. It's a book about how Israel, or these Caucasian Jews, went into Palestine or Jerusalem and took over that land. And it's actually a very good book that really, that's the problem we're dealing with right now when they talk about Israel and Gaza and how they murdering all these people in Gaza. So this book gives you the origin of that. Very in-depth book. And one of the things I seen with that book is that when Israel was soliciting Europe to make a space for them in Jerusalem, it was just a couple of people that went to Jerusalem that were Jewish from Europe. And over time, these Jewish people, they started gathering in a large number to create a nation within Jerusalem. And they slowly was pushing out. And understand now, the Palestinians, or the people in Gaza, they're not the rightful owners of that land, but them the old tenants. Now, I don't mean no disrespect. I'm just saying, if you dig a little bit deeper, you'll see that's black people land. But, so we're talking about 2024. So as the Caucasian Jew from Europe was pushing out these Palestinians into this little small area, more people kept coming, Jewish, more people kept coming. And as they got more organized, they started buying weapons from, I think it was initially Europe, but when you continue to read the book, they started buying weapons from America. So you're saying they buy a couple guns. No, the one thing about this book that I know, throughout the entire book now, Israel, or these Caucasian Jews, they was buying like helicopters. I don't mean like they was buying hundreds, but how he wrote that joint, right? You should really read that book to understand. He would be like, well, they didn't kill these people, they was fighting right here, and then they brought two helicopters. Like, he actually gave you the name of the helicopters. Like, at one time I was gonna freak it. Well, I was gonna give you the name, I was gonna break down everything with how they brought these weapons. That's a war state. That's like I always tell you, the Caucasian Jews tell you, look, he don't go nowhere without 100 soldiers and 100 tanks. That's what he say. He said he don't go nowhere without 100 soldiers and 100 tanks, as far as like the new frontier. So they would give you the political side of what the Jews were doing in Jerusalem. This was like in the 30s and the 40s. And then as he giving you the political side, he would give you how they fighting. Whereas like initially it wasn't like no soldiers. It was just like a group of Jewish people had some weapons. They was fighting, you know, Palestine coming from the Ottoman Empire, they was kind of organized, but there wasn't really no military. But over time, the brother tell you, look, they brought 2 Tomahawk helicopters. Like, he would give you actually the specific name. He would give you what type of rifles they purchased. He would give you what type of grenade launchers they had. He would just give you, I mean, the names and everything where you could research and see what type of weapon that is. Now, them gonna be older weapons, right? But a weapon is a weapon. And once you get that knowledge, you can improve on it. So I seen that, and I was like, damn. He had receipts. And then the thing I seen was that he was telling you specifically what the name of each weapon was. Like, he would tell you what type of jet it was. They brought 2 fighter jets, 3, 4, 5 Tomahawk sub-series, whatever. So he would give you the name of that, right? So I was like, damn, that's just a war state. So with math analysis, right, and starting to understand, we need to understand about weapons. And so what we want to look at is first, it's called ballistics. Now ballistics, like, you know, first of all, we coming from slavery, so we ain't got no knowledge. So we got to find out all of this. Like, we didn't know it was math analysis. We didn't know astronomy was math. You see what I'm saying? But it's called ballistics. And so they put firearms, guns, I don't know if explosions. I don't know if explosives are up under ballistics, but firearms are up under ballistics. And so when you're dealing with a firearm, it's one thing to learn how to, first of all, we got to get the metal from the ground. Then once we pull the metal up from the ground, we got to learn how to melt it, just a hot liquid. Then we got to have some type of molding, casing, however you want your gun to work. You pour that liquid in there, then you'll have a gun. That's called metallurgy. We got to learn that. Always understand that. Tutor, they give you the brother, the black man from Kemet. Tutor, with the goatee, he had a staff, right? He'd be gold crown and everything. Tutor, he was a master of metallurgy. So we got to learn that first. Well, no. We have to learn that also, because you got to learn how to make the casing. But what made the gun important is the trigger mechanism. It's a mechanism. Always learn that word too, mechanism. Let me spell it correctly, right? And look how Mecca is in mechanism, right? You see that? Under the law. But it's the trigger mechanism. When you talk about a mechanism, like how does the HIV virus work? When we say how it works, like what's the mechanism? Well, the mechanism, you're talking about speed and flesh and tissue and all that, right? But, you know, when you talk about cancer, what is the mechanism of the COVID virus? How do these things work? Because if you know how it works, then you can put it together, you can take it apart. So it's the mechanism. Whenever you see that word and whatever, you should study what that is to just see that's how something works, or like a function. You define a mechanism by the function. So you use mathematics to define how it works. So it's the trigger mechanism. And the reason why I want to focus on the trigger mechanism is because it be that trigger, because you be like, if you pull that trigger, it's going like, it's a trigger. It's just real simple, right? It's a trigger, and then they got like a hammer, or they got some type of apparatus where if you pull this, where it's probably a spring in here, right? Just that little pullback provide enough force, I think, where it creates an explosion. And that explosion is from smoke. They call it, like, this one to get crazy, right? How they really don't want you to know. It's called smokeless powder. And the reason why I say that is that, I mean, they got all kind of, TNT explosions, nitrogen explosions. Like, they give you chemicals, but then they say smokeless powder, because I believe it used to be called gunpowder. But I believe it's so, gunpowder so legal, well, you probably can make it out of anything, right? But from this smokeless powder, with this little trigger mechanism, this hammer mechanism, it creates an explosion that sends a little small metal object at a certain speed per second. And that metal object will penetrate flesh, the force of flesh. What's force? KM. I hope I didn't do that on camera. What is it? K. Is that force? Mass per distance per second squared. What's pressure? Pressure's mass. Okay, yeah, I think that's correct. So force, or we can say force is pressure divided by area, right? So we're talking about meters squared, that's kg, m, yes, per second. Okay. So force is mass per distance per second per second. Okay, so let's look again now. The trigger mechanism, we're talking about a trigger, a hammer, or some type of, well, a hammer, I don't know what you would call that. A trigger, a coil, then you got the hammer, the hammer of the gun to create an explosion when it hits some smokeless powder in a metal object, and it creates that explosion that shoots a metal object at a certain speed per second or a certain distance per second to penetrate flesh or some type of solid. So we want to understand this, the trigger mechanism, and that'll give us an entrance into how to understand how to create a weapon. We have to learn how to, I want to say defend ourselves, but I don't really want to put it in that language. We have to understand what they call ballistics, where as a separate nation of people, we can start creating weapons for ourselves. But that's incorrect technology. I mean, incorrect terminology. I don't like how that sounds, right? Because that's not the real reason. The real reason is to develop that skill. You understand what I'm saying? You mean to tell me that you know how to make a trigger for a gun? You know how you know how to pull up metal from the ground and melt it into a gun. It's not just a gun, but that's just what we're looking at right now, the mechanism. You know how to put it into a gun casing, and then you know the trigger mechanism. You know how to make the trigger mechanism for a gun, like you know how that works. And then you know how to get the smokeless powder and put it into some type of metal object where you can just make all of that? Like, who taught you that? You say, well, God taught me that, right? How much you gonna, like, you know, then if that's your skill, like what you going to school for? You going to school to be an interpreter? Like, that's why you paying thousands of dollars for business administration. I mean, you ain't got no relation to Bank of America. Yeah, the manager might be black. You ain't got no relation to none of these companies. But you working on a degree for that. But you don't know nothing about metallurgy. Everything metal. Right? All this violence and chaos. Right? Black man right here know how to make guns. He know how to make the trigger mechanism. You know, everything inferior. Okay. So really what is you learning? Then they giving you grants. Why is you getting a grant that you ain't got a Pell Grant? You're getting a grant to go to school for free, but you're using that money to learn business administration for some people that don't look nothing like you. Because you ain't seek ye first the kingdom of God and all of his righteousness. Okay, so let's see if we can get to this book. And I haven't looked at the book, so I'm not going to say whether yay or nay, whether it's going to give us what we want. This is just something I snatched off the messing with AI, messing with artificial intelligence. They give you something about ballistics, and I asked him what type of books he would recommend. And these are the books that he recommended. So I took a look at this one book, right? Let's see. Okay, it's called, Oh, that's terrible. You mean to tell me I can't even? I wonder how long that's going to take. Now, we can't even do that, right? Let's see if I can get the book from off the internet. Oh, I hate brothers and sisters. We can't do that, right? Let's see if I go. Now, the name of this document, ballistics theory. Let's see if it's just on the internet. It's still going to be PDF, right? Is this the book right here? Yeah, I might have did get that book from here, right? Oh, that's a headbanger. Okay, I ain't even got that on my phone, right? So let's take the time, brothers and sisters. I don't think I'm going to have enough time. No, we're not going to have enough time, right? But I need to get this right here, right? What type of PDF? Could I use that? I wonder if they're going to charge me, right? I could just install it, right? We might have enough time, right? So, okay. So it's called ballistics. So whenever you come to the math lecture, depending on where we are in our understanding the stock market, where we are in our understanding math analysis, we're going to be learning about how to make weapons, but that's kind of like real general. We're going to be learning about the mechanisms of firearms. How do you make a weapon? We're going to try to get into metallurgy. And so all that's is going to be a part of our research and learning about what's going on. We're really going to get into physics. We're going to learn about the wave. Okay, still, that might take a little second. Okay. So let's while that's getting itself together, let's look at this statement. We're going to go back to math analysis. Math's so difficult, it makes life easy. So look at this statement. It says 1 plus 1 equals 2. Now, in just learning math, we take it for granted that this is a true statement. This is a sentence, a mathematical sentence, like the cat is black. That's a sentence, English sentence. This is a mathematical sentence. 1 plus 1 equals 2. Now you got symbols, they're all symbols on some level, because the 1 represents something. What does it represent? Well, you can make it represent whatever you want it to represent, but you have to know what this symbol 1 means. Like you didn't put a meaning to it, what does it mean? Then you got the plus symbol and the equal symbol. So this is a sentence, mathematical language. Okay, that's on one level. So then you say, well, you got to prove this. How do you prove it? So you start thinking in your mind, look how crazy you is in your mind. How do you prove it? Now God, like if you're a genius in the true sense of the word, then it would just automatically, like if you ain't got no education on it, and then you start saying, well, this is how you prove it right here, 1 equal 1 because of such and such. It cannot even make no sense in everyday language. But if you can prove it, then you on the correct path for that genius. So how do you prove this? How do you prove 1 plus 1 equals 2? That's like saying, how do you prove A plus B equals C? How do you prove that? Here you got the unknown variables. You don't know what none of that is. But real deal, you don't know what none of this is. Unless you say, well, 1 and 1 are counting numbers. So now you done put it into a category or a set. They're not just numbers, well, they're counting numbers. Well, if they're counting numbers, you know $1 equals $2. But you still got to prove it, right? So let's look at it. Say if these are counting numbers or natural numbers, what they call it, mapping, we ain't gonna get into that. So say if it's counting numbers, like you got to really define what counting numbers are. So that's when it gets to be exhaustive. But look, if we say it's counting numbers to count items, so we say, look, 1 apple or 1 tomato looks like this. This is what 1 tomato looks like. 1 tomato looks like this. These are equal because 1 plus 1 is equal. The only way 1 plus 1 is not equal is that if you say 1 is equal to 3. So I seen that's 2, right? Look, when we talk about a set and a subset, well, which one am I talking about? And I put that on the board one time. I didn't specify because I was really picking on one side. So then if you say, well, 1 plus 1 is not equal to 1, then you got to say why. Well, you say, well, this 1 right here, you call it y1 because y1 equals 3. So if y1 equals 3, then that's not equal. You understand? That's just like a quick counter argument. But let's stay focused. If 1 equals 1 tomato, and this 1 equals 1 tomato, and these tomatoes are equal, because 1 is equal to 1, right? That's true. That's a true statement. 1, because they look alike. Then, what is 2? How is that equal to 2? Well, if you have 2 tomatoes, right? And then you use the plus symbol. That means you're adding. So then we say, if it's 1 plus 1, if it's 1 tomato plus 1 tomato, this is the left side of the statement, this is the right side of the statement. We're talking about maneuvering around the equality sign. When I be messing with little children, it's maneuvering around the equality sign. Maneuvering around the equality sign. Positive, negative. Left to right, right to left. Left to right, right to left. Left to right. You got 3 plus 4 equals 2. Plus what? 5. Subtract the 5 to both sides. You got -5 plus 3 plus 4 is equal to 2, right? Subtract the 4. You got -5 plus 3 is equal to 2 minus 4. Maneuvering around the equality sign. Don't get stuck on just one side of the equality sign. Open up that brain. You can maneuver around the equality side, both sides. So look, right? If 1 tomato, if 1 is equal to 1 tomato, and 1 is equal to 1 tomato, and you add that up, right? On the left side, you have this. On the right side, you have this. Do they look alike? They look exactly alike. So therefore, they're equal. So since the 2 tomatoes look alike on both sides of the equality, 1 plus 1 equals 2. Hold on 1 second, brothers and sisters. Lila Hollywood. Lila Hollywood. So therefore, we didn't just prove that 1 plus 1 equals 2. 1 plus 1 equals 2. We have to prove that. Is this true? Well, 1 equals 1 tomato. 1 equals 1 tomato. Then you got 2 equals 2 tomatoes. So if you're going to add these 2 tomatoes, right, if you're going to add 1 plus 1, each one equals a tomato. Are these 2 equal? Is this right here equal to this right here? Yeah. They're equal. They're the same thing. So if these 2 are equal, if the left side of this equation and the right side of this equation, if they look alike, then they're equal. It's the same thing. So therefore, one plus 1 equals 2. And we just proved it. Now, to get real heavy on a whole separate level, you got to look at the hieroglyphics and how they always use picture imagery to try to illustrate to you what they were thinking. But here we're seeing that this is a good way to explain mathematical proofs, what you're trying to prove, and dealing with analysis. And then understand also that from the hieroglyphics, they also had cursive writing, where they was letters. So let's understand. We use imagery to prove this statement. that 1 plus 1 equals 2. But let's do it a separate way. What if we said that, how do you prove, no, let's do it like this. We're going to prove that 1 plus 1 equals 2. Now this might get kind of complicated, like word complicated, but let's see if we can do it. We're going to say that 2 is less than 3, greater than 1. We're going to put 2 in a natural number set. You can do it like that too, right? But it's all kinds of ways you can freak it. But we're gonna say 2 is in a natural number set. That make it finite, but I was thinking something separate. But we're gonna say, so because we put 2 in a natural number set, or we're gonna say that, let's do it like this. We're gonna create an interval. We're gonna call that interval S. An interval is just a distance between point A and point B. You can make that whatever you want. No, we ain't gonna create no interval. We're gonna create an inequality. We're gonna say this is an inequality. We're gonna call it inequality S. I don't know if, I mean, you can do it like that, right? But this is going to be more what I'm seeing. We're going to say this is an inequality in the natural number set. And so we're going to say this inequality is 1 less than 2 is less than 3. And we're going to group this inequality. We're going to say it's equal to S. Now you can also do it as an interval, but that's just for the sake of time, right? We're making it complicated. But we're going to say interval M. We're going to open it. It's going to be an open interval, right? We got to use this, right? We're going to say from 1 to 3. This is an open interval. When you see the parentheses, that means it's open, meaning the numbers in between the interval do not equal the lower number and the upper number. Now, I know the language, but I'm not trying to sound all like I know everything at this point. We're just trying to just get an understanding. So it's an open interval. That means it's not equal to 1, which we have right here. 2 is not equal to 1. It's greater than 1. And it's not equal to 3. It's not equal to 3. It's less than 3. So we're talking about an interval. Then we're going to put the interval M in a natural number set. Natural numbers, no negative numbers, no 0, no fractions. It's 1, 2, 1, 2, 3 to infinity. So we have an open interval M defined as 1, 3. M is in a natural number set. So now we say that 2 is in the natural number set. The natural number 2 is in the interval M. Well, if we're talking about an interval of natural numbers, and if 2 is also in that interval, then 2 would have to be greater than 1, less than 3. Okay, so we have defined what 2 is. 2 is greater than 1 and less than 3, because we're talking about an open interval, open parentheses, an open interval from 1 to 3. But M is a natural number interval. So we only can use natural numbers. Okay, so now we see how we had to define that. We defined it because we're trying to prove 1 plus 1 equals 2. You got to prove it. But we first had to define what 2 was. 2, I mean, like, we don't know what 2 is. Like, we could use the hieroglyphics to show what it is, but we want to use that cursive writing. Okay, so we had to define the value of 2. And the value of 2 in a natural number set within an interval from 1 to 3, 2 is greater than 1 and less than 3. Now you can go on and start defining what 1 is and what 3 is to really give you a value of what 2 is. Real powerful. But with math analysis, you always have to prove it. Just prove it. And then from what you are learning, they give you theorems or certain ways, tricknology to write this and that. You can use that, or you can start learning how to develop your own proofs with the language. Okay, so we define what 2 is. We do the same thing with 1. We say, well, look, 1 is less than 2 and greater than 1. We ain't even really have to do an interval and all of that. We can just say what this is. So we can say this inequality call it inequality R. You know, we use R for Lord. We're going to call this inequality T. This inequality T is 0 less than 1 less than 2. I'm going to write it again. We're now going to define an inequality. We're going to call that inequality T. Inequality is dealing with these symbols right here. Less than, greater than. You have equality, which is equal, the equal symbol. And then you have inequality. Less than or greater than. Now I want you to understand also, when you talk about math analysis, or if you're just speaking about mathematics, I put some symbols on the board. I put these inequality symbols on the board. I also introduced the term inequality. And I didn't give no understanding of that. And so we're just going to have to deal with that. You might know what it is. You might not know what it is. I mean, you know what it is, but when you actually see it and how it's used and how it interacts, you might not really understand. So we're just going to go through it real quick. So now we define what 1 is. You have an inequality T. We're going to put T in a natural number set. You got T in a natural number set. You got M in a natural number set. Right? And you have this inequality where we put a value for 2. 2 is less than 3, greater than 1. Which makes it okay, we want to know what the value is, right? How do we actually put a value on 2, but 2 already has a value, and the value is 2? You understand what I'm saying? I say that because if we put T as an inequality in the natural number set, what you will have is 0 less than 1 less than 2 plus 0 less than 1 less than 2, and that's equal to, again now, inequality, less than, greater than, it's not equal, it's unequal, inequality. 1 greater than 0, but it's less than 2. 1 greater than 0, but it's less than 2. Then we have 1 less than 2, but 2 less than 3. So we almost there, brothers and sisters. Almost there. So let's see. Now we haven't finished now, but we almost there. Let's see where we are. So now you got to analyze it. We didn't put our feet in our hot water, right? So we got to analyze where we are. Now you probably could do some addition and subtraction, right? If we subtract, that'll be negative. That'll just make it worse, right? Okay, so we don't want to dance around the inequality. Now you can dance around the inequality too, right? That's a because you'll have this symbol right here. This means greater than or less, greater than or equal to. When you see the inequality symbol, either direction, and you see a straight line under it, that means it's greater than or equal to, or less than or equal to. That's more or less dealing with variables, or you probably could put 0 in that situation, but that's more or less dealing with variables, the unknown. So let's go back to this, right? So you got this inequality, which is 1, because we're talking about t, the variable t, the inequality t, in the number set, in the natural number set. You got t again in the natural number set. Then you got the inequality 2 greater than 1 less than 3. That's equal to m. And we put that in the natural number set. Right? Okay, hold on 1 second. Okay. So what we have to do now is we have to show that the only space between 0 and 2 is 1. The only space between 0 and 2 is 1. These two are equal. And the only space between 1 and 3 is 2. Right? So, how do we show, but the problem is, how do we show that 1 equals 1, where it would be 1 plus 1, where this is 2? Okay, how do we show that we're talking about 1, 1, and 2? So then you could just get fancy with it, right? You could say, this is when, see how we dumbfounded and we don't know, we're waiting for our slave master to tell us what the answer is. But no, you can just freak that thing. You can say the only value, you can say, this is what you have to say, right? You say if the inequality, if t is a natural number inequality, if inequality t is in a natural number set, if inequality t is in a natural number set, and we look at the interval, the open interval 0, 2, Okay, we have defined the value of 1, and we know 1 to be a natural number because we put each one of the inequalities to be a natural number. So if we add each inequality, how do these two inequalities equal this inequality? Okay. I'm not saying we stop. I'm just saying that if we say that the only value between 0 and 2 is 1, and right here we say that the only value between 0 and 2 is 1, then we can say, if we say 1 less than 2 less than 3, and say we subtract 2, so that'd be 1 minus 2, 2 minus 2, 3 minus 2. So that's 0, that's -1, and that's 1, right? Okay, now you see how we maneuver around the inequality? So you got the inequality 1 less than 2 less than 3. The whole thing now, we got to put a value on 1. Now we done defined it to being a natural number set as far as the inequality. So we know that the value of 1 is between, like it don't have no 1. The value is between 0 and 2, and it's not 1.1 or 0.9 because we put it in a natural number set. Natural numbers don't have fractions, don't have negative numbers. So the next value, as far as it increases, is going to be 2, and this is the least value. Okay, so if we say 1 less than 2 less than 3, then we subtract 2 from the inequality. That'll be 1 minus 2, 2 minus 2, 3 minus 2. That'll give you -1. That'll give you 0. That'll give you 1. This is real good because we got 1 right here, right? And since we're talking about the natural number set, we can get rid of this right here, right? Oh, that's powerful. Right? Because it was -1, we talking about the natural number set. So we can get rid of this term right here, right? Because that's not what we're talking about. That's something else you could, what they call it, closure property. That's kind of heavy too, right? So now, but look though. See how that thing's shaping? So now we got this part. We got that part of the inequality. You see what I'm saying? So now all we need to do is to show that 1 is less than 2 is less than 3, but we done already defined it because we defined M to be in a natural number set. Remember we said that M is equal to the inequality 1 less than 2 less than 3. Now that's a shortcut, and we could put more words on it. But if we didn't already find 2 to be less than 1, and that's in the natural number set, and we have 0 is less than 1 from subtracting 2 from both sides of the inequality, right? So that means we can say 2 less than 3. Right? Okay. We're going to keep going and on and on and on and on, right? But that's just a little taste of how math analysis works. And that's real heavy. And that's actually very good. It's just real good, right? Okay. So let's see where we are. We don't really have that much time, right? I need to be closing it down. But let's see where we are with this PDF. And if I try to go to open, oh, it's still downloading. Is it for real? Let's see if we just see what's going on. Oh, I hate I can't do this junk. It ain't really downloaded all the way yet. Nope, almost, right? Okay. I'm gonna try to do this real quickly. Let me give you something from the book. Let's just look at what this, they call this a corollary. You have theorems, you have a proof, you have a remark, then you have a corollary. Then you have an axiom. So then, you know, it's just, it's really, the name implies what it is. But let's look at this statement. It's called a corollary. How you spell it? Corollary. Something you should know, that along with a theorem. But let's listen to what it says. If t is greater than 0, analyze that. What does that mean? What does t greater than 0 mean? There exists nt, I believe that's a natural number, ntnn, natural number set, such that zero is less than 1 over n is less than t. Let's look at it now. If t is greater than 0, that means t is not going to be negative, it's not going to be equal to 0 on a number line. You got 0 right here, open circle. T is all the numbers to the right of the number line. If t is greater than 0, there is a nt, another number, with a subset, such that 1 over n is less than t, greater than 0. So how you prove that, right? They gotta create, they don't never, I mean, they prove it, but okay, no, they got a nice way how they prove it. They say that we got something called an infimum. That's going to be complicated. Audu, Desire,